Carbon monoxide kills over 400 people a year in the United States and injures more than 50,000. You can end up in trouble with carbon monoxide in any situation where fuels are being burned, and these can include your car, portable generators, and even lawnmowers. This can happen at home, on vacation, at a hotel, and at work. Award-winning engineer and combustion equipment expert John Pushkar is presenting this two-part series to point out some important information about things you should know about some common appliances and combustion systems to avoid becoming exposed to carbon monoxide.
Over the last 40 years, I've developed and led fuels and combustion equipment safety programs for the largest manufacturers in the world. Today, I'm bringing you knowledge, insights, and best practices about fired equipment and natural gas safety. Over the next few minutes, you'll get the kind of practical, real-life explanations that I've become known for.
Hello everyone, it's John Pushkar. I'm here again today to bring you important insights into how to avoid carbon monoxide poisoning. Layla, thank you for being part of this two-episode series. Carbon monoxide is a very important issue, and we're coming around into another heating season, so I'm really glad to be able to get some of this information out.
John, I understand that today's episode is about natural draft appliances and how they can get us in trouble. So first of all, what is a natural draft appliance?
Layla, you mentioned natural draft and you mentioned appliances. I want to say a few words about those two terms because they're a little confusing. Let's start first with appliances. Appliances kind of sounds like I'm only going to be discussing residential types of things. As a matter of fact, NFPA 54, the National Fuel Gas Code, uses the term appliances whether it's discussing residential ovens or stoves or blast furnaces and steel mills. So if your world is outside of the residential world, there's plenty of good information here for you because I'm discussing appliances in general. The term natural draft is also very important when it comes to discussing carbon monoxide issues. You see, there are a number of different types of systems that remove products of combustion, fumes, from devices when they burn fuels. These include everything from forced draft systems, like I'm showing you here, where there's actually a fan that pushes the fuel air mixture through the firebox, and the flue system, or the piping or ductwork that removes these materials, is actually under pressure. There are also induced draft systems, where there's a fan on the outlet and we're kind of sucking everything through. And then the type that I want to focus on here today, which I believe are the least friendly in terms of avoiding carbon monoxide poisoning, are natural draft systems. Unfortunately, these proliferate our lives, especially our homes. Many folks have natural draft systems on things like hot water heaters and heating furnaces. There are also tens of thousands of these used in commercial facilities, again for hot water heaters and for space heating boilers. You see, the problem is there's an opening here, and it's called a draft hood, where products of combustion leave the device, they mix with room air, and then we count on there to be a buoyancy effect. Yes, we count on just simply the fact that these are less dense and they'll tend to rise, and cold air tends to fall. So it's a very, very slight pressure that makes these function at all. And sometimes on warm days, or when things aren't quite right, we don't get much draft or much pooling effect for these materials to actually be able to leave the space. This is how a lot of people get hurt, and much of our discussion today is going to focus in on what some of those problems are that could really cause issues when it comes to natural draft systems. One of the best things you can do is, if you can avoid having a natural draft system, I recommend it. I think there are more forgiving draft systems out there that can help you to avoid problems.
What do you mean by combustion air, and what do you mean by issues?
Some of the issues or problems that these systems have is a lack of combustion air, where there's just not enough air to replace what's being exhausted. Sometimes there are exhaust fans in rooms like this, or they communicate to rooms that are under a negative pressure. And then we end up drawing these flue gases into the living space, sometimes into air handlers, and we can distribute these fumes into places that people occupy. If there's carbon monoxide in these fumes, you can understand how very bad things can happen. So when we have a lack of combustion air, we don't have enough oxygen to combine with all of the carbon molecules that are released when we burn something. So when we have incomplete combustion or an improper fuel-air ratio, we'll tend to have flames that are orange, yellow, sooty, lazy, not moving around. And once we're making a lot of carbon monoxide, again, we've got this tremendous hazard there. We're vulnerable. If this gets out of the flue system and into the breathing space, we're in big trouble. You see, it takes about 10 parts of air to burn 1 part of fuel correctly. NFPA 54, the National Fuel Gas Code, gives a number of ways that you can ensure that you have enough combustion air in a space. Usually, especially in commercial facilities, this is done by providing some type of wall louver or some type of ductwork to an outside space where outside air can be easily drawn in. In some cases, there are fans that are dedicated just to provide combustion air. Where there are fans, the burner is not supposed to operate until the fan is proven on and functional. Where there are louvers in walls that are operable and open and close, again, the burner is not supposed to light until these are proven open. Even if there are louvers that are fixed in place, usually there are screens to prevent leaves and insects and things like that from coming into a space. Oftentimes these are dirty and clogged and in no condition to provide enough air. These are things that are easily checked.
Well, how can someone tell if this natural draft system is working correctly?
Checking draft systems is a relatively easy thing to do. You need some simple tools. One of them would be a smoke pen. So you're simply looking to see that the smoke is actually going up and out the flue. Now, sometimes it takes a few minutes for a draft to be established, depending on weather conditions and other operating conditions that you might have. But especially after a couple of minutes, in fact, I believe the code says today after 5, but I wouldn't wait that long, you should see that the draft is actually moving up and out. I'm providing in the comments section to this episode some important links where you can find detailed descriptions of how to do draft tests. This is also actually in the annex section of NFPA 54, but I've got a couple of really great documents to help guide you on this. I highly recommend that you do a draft test regardless of when your facility was constructed or what type of combustion air system that you have. There are many facilities that were never draft tested. There are many facilities that have been modified. There are places where there are tremendous negative pressures, and if a door is propped open somewhere, accidentally even, it could make for a downdraft situation that could be very dangerous in just minutes. If you're unsure or have any questions, you should get a hold of a licensed plumber or a licensed mechanical contractor to help you evaluate your combustion air and your draft. An especially dangerous situation that's happening today is that homes are being constructed with less and less air infiltration through walls, through windows, through doors. In fact, many of them have blower tests done to confirm that weatherization has been done properly. What this has done is this has provided less inside air to be used for combustion. These homes also are getting rather sophisticated appliances, sometimes commercial ranges, many exhaust fans, fireplaces, there are clothes dryer systems. All of these consume air. And under the right conditions, maybe a number of exhaust fans are on in bathrooms and for kitchen hoods, and you've got yourself a real problem. So again, regardless of when your home might have been constructed, regardless of when that commercial facility has been constructed, you need to verify your draft.
John, thank you again for addressing such an important topic. It's great to have this information out there for so many people, given how this seems to be an ongoing issue every year.
Thanks, Layla. I've covered a lot, and for some folks who don't do this every day like I do, I know it sounds a little complicated. So again, if you can avoid natural draft appliances, great. Get a draft test done. And at the end of the day, the best thing that you can do for yourself is get a hold of a couple of carbon monoxide detectors. They're very simple to install. They're just like smoke detectors. You should have several of them in a typical home. If you have an alarm monitoring service, I recommend you contact those folks and get one that reports to your central system, as well as having a couple of local ones as well that make sound so that in case that system's down, you're also covered. I especially want you to be aware, if you're a facility manager, maybe you handle a school or a hospital or some place of assembly, if you have air handlers that have natural draft appliances in the same room, please make sure that you have carbon monoxide detectors that report to somewhere where you can identify if there's a problem with backdrafting, that you don't get that carbon monoxide into an air handler and get a lot of people sick. This circulation of carbon monoxide through air handlers in institutional facilities has been a chronic problem. It's happened a number of times, and frankly, there's no reason for it today. So please, again, if you operate that kind of facility, make sure that you're protected with carbon monoxide detectors. Again, thank you, folks, and remember, at the end of the day, the life that you save, it just might be yours. Hi, it's John Pushkar. I hope you found this episode useful. If you'd like to know about more ways that I can help, you can check out my website at www.prescientts.com. There you'll find information about the Prescient Technical Services Online School, my book, Fuels and Combustion System Safety, What You Don't Know Can Kill You, and also about some of the consulting projects that I've been providing to clients for the past 40 years. Things like implementing inspection and testing programs on a corporate enterprise-wide level, things like reviewing and commenting on capital equipment purchases that involve combustion equipment, and even being a legal expert if things go really wrong. Once again, thank you for attending, and remember, be safe out there. The life you save, it just might be yours.